Hello, fellow Concordia students and staff. My name is Katie Rogenkamp, and I live in Bonnie Lake, Washington. I teach fifth grade in a school district located in Maple Valley, Washington. Previously, I worked in the state of Oregon in the Tiger-Tualatin School District for about 4 years. This will be my 7th year teaching, and to be quite honest, I don't know where the time has gone. It has gone by so quickly. I started this program 3 years ago. In the middle of it, I decided to take a year off when my husband proposed. I quickly learned that wedding planning and working on my master's was just a little too stressful. I am absolutely thrilled to be at the end of this program, and I am very excited to receive a degree in curriculum and instruction. I can see myself using this degree in the future with helping my district implement new curriculum and countless resources. Something that I've really enjoyed from this program is getting a chance to interact in the discussion board with other students from Concordia. I feel that I've learned a great deal from my peers, and I hope that I too have helped them along the way. The professional educational plan that I created at the beginning of this journey, or the PEP, has changed slightly over the years. I began with the goal of completing my reading endorsement as well as getting my master's, but decided to go a different route midway through. The classes that I did complete during this program are as follows, and they are in order from which I completed them. The first class that I completed was EDGR 500 Professional Planning Seminar, EDGR 605 Instructional Leadership and Classroom Evaluation, EDGR 601 Educational Research, EDCI 582 Diagnosis and Assessment of Reading, EDCI 586 Current Issues in Literacy, EDGR 535 Theories of Teaching and Learning, EDCI 583 Advanced Techniques for Teaching Reading, EDGR 595 Community of Learners, EDGR 502 Developing Character Through Curriculum, EDGR 602 Contemporary Educational Thought, EDGR 698 Action Research, EDRD 552 Young Adult and Children's Literature. This was one of my favorite courses. EDCI 555 Organization and Management of Reading Programs. And finally, EDGR 697 Professional Assessment Seminar, this class. While taking these classes, I was also teaching full-time. And during this time, I collected artifacts that demonstrated my skills in the advanced teaching competencies required by Concordia University. I found 2 artifacts for each competency, and I would like to go through each one and share one of my examples from each. The first competency is assessing documents and communicating student learning needs in relation to long-term goals and district standards. For this, I chose an example of a learning log that I have my students complete after a lesson has been taught. The learning log is a way for students to put down any information that they learned during the lesson, as well as a way for them to write down any questions that they might still linger or have after the lesson is taught. Not only do I use these logs for assessment, but I also have students refer to them when I am having them write as well. It is a great resource that contains countless information from the unit that we are working on, and it helps students remember ideas from the beginning of the unit. Here is a picture of the learning log that I have my students create. Competency number 2 is design student-centered developmentally appropriate plans for instruction consistent with content goals and district standards. For this competency, I chose an example of an inquiry chart that I use at the beginning of a unit. It is divided into 2 sections: what we think we know about the topic and what do we want to learn about the topic. This chart is revisited throughout the unit. It is added to and revised by the students based on the information that they have learned throughout the unit. This chart is something that I love creating with my students, and I'm always surprised to see some of the things that they know prior to the beginning of the unit. I also love coming back to the chart and having students add or take off some of the information. They take ownership in the chart and take pride in having correct information on it. Here's a picture of the inquiry chart, or an example of an inquiry chart that I've used in my classroom. The third competency is establish a positive classroom environment and management plan of students which fosters learning, is developmentally appropriate, and supports the human dignity of students. The artifact that I chose to represent this competency is a literacy award example. Literacy awards are given to students that are showing respect, making good decisions, or solving a problem. I use them during whole group instruction and usually when students are out of their seats and are seated in front of the room on the carpet. Before I begin teaching, I choose 2 students to be the scouts during my teaching. These 2 students are looking at the students around them and trying to notice the 3 standards of our classroom. The scouts are also participating in the discussion and lesson, not just looking for students. During the lesson, I will stop and ask the scouts who they noticed showing 1 or more standard. The scouts will explain the behavior that they saw and tell what standard that behavior is an example of. Here's an example of a literacy award that I might hand out in my classroom. The fourth competency is implement instructional plans using research-based and best practices for diverse learners and cultures, which encourages parental support. The artifact I chose is a homeschool connection worksheet. These worksheets contain a short assignment for students to complete with a parent or family member that is at home. This activity is a way for me to show parents what we are learning in class and for the students to have a conversation about what we are learning with their parents. Students are required to get their parent to sign the paper so that I know a conversation happened or that the parent saw the activity. Here's a picture of the homeschool connection. The fifth competency is collaborating with parents, colleagues, and community members to provide internal and external assistance to students and families. This artifact that I chose is an elementary writing and implementation plan. While working on my master's, I am also heavily involved in the implementation of curriculum within my school. One of the subject areas that I felt that I needed some improvement in is the subject area of writing. And as a result, I decided to join the writing committee at my school so I can gain a better understanding of teaching writing and learn strategies in the process. This picture that you are about to see is a plan that my colleagues and I are following in order to create lessons and go over curriculum that we've been given, and then later share with other teachers in our district. The sixth competency is evaluating student progress in learning, refine plans for instruction, and establish alternative learning options when necessary. After whole group instruction, students are required to go back to their seats and complete a team task with their table group. The team task has something to do with the lesson that was taught during the day, and the members of the group can decide what task to complete and what part of the task they will work on. Each student has a designated color that they are allowed to use on their team task. They are only allowed to use this one color. When the team tasks are shared at the end of the unit, I can easily notice what part of the task each student has worked on and completed. I learned this strategy after being trained in GLAD and love using this multiple times during the day. The seventh competency that I gained artifacts for was documenting and reporting the progress of students in achieving content goals standards and district standards. This is a chart that I would use frequently at the beginning, middle, and end of some of the lessons that I teach. This chart has to do with asking questions or asking students to make predictions about topics as well as gaining the knowledge that they know already from teaching that takes place. Something that I find very valuable is the times when the chart is revisited and modified by students throughout the unit. I feel that students often change their ideas or perspectives after they have gained more knowledge about the subject. It is also neat to see the questions that were asked at the beginning of the unit and have them be answered throughout it. One of the goals during the unit is for us to find out the answers to all the questions asked. If a question is left unanswered on the chart, I ask for volunteers to research it and share the answers on a different day. Here's a picture of that chart. For time purposes, I will show you just one of the competencies for number 8. However, there are 2 more that I did not show you. The 8A competency is using emerging research on teaching, learning, and school improvement to enhance practices. I used a speaking and listening standard chart for this competency. A great deal of research has taken place by my district involving the speaking and listening standards for 4th and 5th grade students. Teachers and staff have collaborated on these standards and are in the process of tweaking them so that they are reasonable and align with Common Core. Here's a picture of that chart. That is it for my artifacts, and this will conclude my video. Thank you so much for viewing my work, and I look forward to seeing your feedback soon.